do, friends. Bad things happen to people I'm close to. They die.
I told them.
Whoa.
We're going to move on to the next part of my stream, and that is my review for Wendell and Wild, chat. For those that don't know, the general premise, it's based off of Henry Selick's unpublished work, and it follows these two scheming demon brothers, both Wendell and Wild, who enlist the aid of this this teenage girl named Kat Elliot. They ask her to summon them to the land of the living, the real human world, in order to create their own amusement park. And in turn, help Kat resurrect her dead parents due to the fact that she feels responsible for their deaths years earlier. For those that, have or have not watched my content and reviews before, I've talked about my love and appreciation for stop motion and claymation animation. Shorts and movies like, Wallace and Gromit and their feature-length film, Wallace and Gromit and The Curse of the Were-Rabbit. Obviously, Henry Selick's own Nightmare Before Christmas and Coraline. I think just great. I love this type of animation. And it's always nice to see these animated films pop up, since we don't often, get them in this glut, in this time of cinematic 3D animation, chat. I mean, hell, it's fucking rare to get a 2D animated theatrical released film. It's mostly just 3D animation. 2D and claymation, stop motion. Every once in a while in the theaters. Most of the time, it's usually online web series or made for TV or streaming services, of course. I appreciate a film like Wendell and Wild that features that stop motion and claymation animation. It's a really cool aesthetic, and it brings with it just kind of like a positive sense of nostalgia, who grew up with these kind of films. And while the film is definitely, listen, it's assisted with computer technology, I feel like the aesthetic and the character designs and the setting are fantastic. It's really, really good. Matter of fact, the setting reminded me of my old childhood. Because most of the movies kind of takes place at this, I don't know, feels like this northeastern this northeastern town in the middle of winter. And, you follow this girl who's going to this private Catholic, high school. And it just reminded me of my childhood, like going to a private Catholic high school, St. Francis High School, St. Franny's. And just going from class to class outside when it's snowing and the slush and all that. It's just like it nailed it. And the nuns and those teachers. Everything about that was like, oh, shit. It just brought up all those memories again. I was like, okay, wow. So they nailed that. They nailed that. It's a very unique setting, that private Catholic high school in the middle of fucking winter in a town or a city that is kind of rusted over and slowly dying. It was like, yep. Did fucking Henry Selick and the animators go to Buffalo, New York at the, when I was in high school, chat? I just wondered about it in the dead of winter. And that really stood out to me. I liked it a lot. The other thing about too is I think it's also a very inclusive movie. Although there are exceptions like, Kubo and the Two Strings, from Laika, of course, we don't often see, racially diverse people, represented in these movies. Some certainly, but like background characters or bit characters, but not as supporting or certainly not as primary characters. In this movie, we see all sorts of faces, ethnicities, races. I mean, we have Native American characters, we have Asian characters, we have black characters, we have Hispanic, you name it, It all feels, very, very natural. And I really like that. And I imagine it's because of Tim Burton. Tim Burton, I feel like in an interview, because people asked him, why don't you feature a lot of people of color in your animated films? And I think in your works in general, certainly, but I think that the question was in regards to his animated films. And he said, I just don't see those people in my animated movies. And Henry Selick said, well, why can't they be? Why not? And I feel like that was also the reason why he, him and his co-creator created Wendell and Wild and wanted to feature characters, of different races and ethnicities. Because it does work. It's almost like, I can't see a black person as a stop motion character. It's like, why not? It works fine. It's no different than featuring a skeleton man or a weird zombie girl. It's like, it's fine. Why does that work, but not having a black guy or a little black girl or an old Asian priest? Like, why can't we have it? And it works. And speaking of those performances and those characters working, I think a number of the performances are quite good from the supporting cast and some of the primary cast as well, including, Lyric Ross, who plays the character of Kat in the movie, KK, as some characters call her. James Hahn, you guys know I'm a James Hahn fan. He plays Father Best in the movie, who runs the all Catholic school. And he's great. Every scene that James Hahn in, he kills it, Chazio. Literally, in some cases, he kills it. Angela Bassett, she's really good. She plays like one of the head nuns there, who is very much looking out for the cat character. Ving Rhames, he plays one of the demons. He's kind of like this. I forget Buffalo Belzer, I think that's his name. And I don't know, he brings a lot of gravitas to that role, and it really works. I really liked him. And then you have a newcomer, at least I'm not aware of them, but you have Sam Zelia. That's the other thing about this movie too. You along with all these different races and ethnicities being represented in this movie, as various characters, you also have a trans character in this film. And Sam Zelia, she voices this character named Raul. And that was one of the best characters in the movie. Matter of fact, I think I probably like their story more, his story more than maybe even Kat's story. I was just kind of more invested in his story and what he was going through, and just because like he wasn't an asshole. Kat's got, the good thing about Kat is, she's a punk. And she's been hurt by life, and she's become bitter and resentful, and you understand why. But there's sometimes like, all right, you don't have to have all that attitude. Like, come on. Like these people are trying to help you. But Raul, I really like the character of Raul. There was a wholesomeness to that character, and that pervaded that was throughout the entire movie. I thought they were really good. And additionally, I like the darker tone. We see multiple people get murdered in this movie. One of the big plot points is caused, like, that happens throughout the rest of the film, is because of someone is murdered. And they're all like, I mean, they play around with some things, but at one point it's like, oh, that guy got fucked up and throw him in there. And it's like, holy shit, they ain't coming back. Well, maybe they come back. But I like that. People swear in this movie. I feel like I heard, like, they say damn, they said ass, they said shit, I think a couple of times, maybe. No fucks, but, but speaking of fucking, it does feature some sexual innuendo, chat, and drug use. There's a lot of references to drug use and being high in the movie, and that a lot of that works. Well, that worked really, really well. I like the darker tones. Like, no, we could push this. It's kind of like, this is for kind of like preteens or teens who grew up watching maybe some of these stop motion animated films. And there's always like a little bit of darkness in these movies, just because I think just the look of them. I like that the grittiness, if you will. Now, listen, I've been very positive, but despite all that, however, the film has, I think, a number of flaws, and its story just feels all over the place, and it's really overstuffed. It introduces like new concepts and lore in a really sloppy way, and sometimes it won't touch on a lot of this stuff. Like, they'll reference something in the beginning of the movie, first 10 minutes, and then it's like, oh, we're gonna bring that back up in the hour 25-minute mark. I'm just like, oh shit, yeah, I totally forgot about that. And it also just feels a little too long, and its pacing feels off, especially in the first third. There's a lot of just kind of like exposition, it's that kind of thing where it's like, okay, you're introducing a lot of concepts, but you're not really explaining them that well. It's not really the over-explain. They're just telling you what they are, and it's just kind of one after the other, and then now we're establishing this thing. There's a lot going on here. And you're just gonna have to either go with it, or you're just gonna be kind of frustrated, like, wait, what are we referencing again? So it has a little too much going on, And the other thing is, the thing that I was actually I think a lot of people were looking forward to most, but I'm sorry to say this, chat, I was also really underwhelmed by Keegan-Michael Key and Jordan Peele in the movie, as Wendell and Wild, which is the movie is named after them. Their story just feels kind of random. And, Henry Selick just kind of has them often, he just has them doing things that by themselves. Like when they're with other people, I think they're better because they're interacting with other people. When they're by themselves, they come off as really fucking dull. Honestly, they're kind of boring when they're together. I'm just like, there's constant drug innuendo with them, which is fine, but eventually it just feels like a gag, they're getting high off of, this is weird. This is a weird MacGuffin in the movie. They're getting high off of this hair cream that they use to help their dad, Buffalo Belzer, with his hair follicles. And they're constantly sucking this thing down just to, get fucking lit. And I don't know. And when they're by themselves, they're always doing that. When they're with other people, they're not fucking guzzling that shit. But it's just like, yeah, I'm not digging this. It really just felt unnecessary and just kind of weird. I feel like their entire plot, their subplot, could have been reworked and could have been made to be something more interesting. Yeah, I'm sorry to say, I just didn't care for it. Their voice acting. I'm trying to think of like what else have they voice acted in, and nothing's immediately coming to mind. Oh, I guess well, Keegan-Michael Key. Wait. So I'm sorry, Keegan-Michael Key. Yeah, he's done some voice acting. A lot of the stuff he's done, I've not liked. Most recently, he was in Pinocchio. He was shit. What's that character? The Fox character, John. Yeah, he was not good in that. Now, to be fair, what was written for him wasn't great. And I guess the other thing too is what's written for them is not really all that interesting. Jordan Peele, I feel like, is really lackluster in this movie. Like it's Wendell who's Keegan-Michael Key's character who speaks most of the time. And Jordan Peele's character of Wild, he doesn't really get a lot to do. He's fat and he likes to get high. That's all he really does. Oh yeah, they were in Toy Story. I did like them as Bunny and Ducky. They were pretty funny in that. That's a good point, BSG. I did like them in that. But yeah, they were honestly the most disappointing aspect of the movie. But you listen, in the end, what you have here is a film that I feel like gets by a lot of its visual charm, the themes, a number of its voice performances. There are good voice performances in this movie, Chad, like I said. Not everything works about it narratively. But there's gonna be several things you're gonna walk away with, I feel like, by the time it's done, that you're gonna really appreciate. You're gonna have a lot of fun with, that you want to see again. But yeah, it's got some problems. It has some flaws. I think that screenplay need to be reworked. Need to cut some stuff out. I feel like the whole Wendell Wild character are kind of flat for most of it. Their whole thing, like, they want to build a theme park. I'm like, why? Why? That's their motivation. We want to build this dream park. Why? Because we wanna. It's like, all right. I don't know. I was more invested in the living characters and some of the undead characters, if you will, but not so much the demons. Not so much the demons, chat. But yeah, if I had to give this a rating, I think this is a solid matinee. It's a very entertaining matinee, chat. And it's, easily accessible on Netflix if you want to watch that. I don't know if it's playing anywhere in theaters, but you check it out on the matinee screening, of course. But yeah, I mean, when I compare it to Henry Selick's Night Before Christmas and Coraline, I think those are just better. Those are a little more tighter. They're certainly better paced. I mean, Night Before Christmas is like, an hour, 15 minutes? If that, at most, I think it's a relatively short movie. So, but yeah, for myself, I give it a matinee. Jeff.